Hi guys, it's Tina from Asian Boss. Imagine using an Android phone, then suddenly not being able to access Android or Google Play Store. Well, that's definitely been the case for American phone owners of Huawei, a Chinese company that's the largest telecom equipment maker and one of the top 3 smartphone makers in the world. Currently, global technology companies are cutting ties with the Chinese telecom giant after the US government put Huawei on a trade blacklist, citing national security concerns. Essentially, it fears that Huawei's equipment is being used to spy on other countries and companies. Normally, we're all about getting authentic perspectives out of Asia, but given the circumstances, we had to get opinions from those in America where this is taking place. So how do people in the US feel about this issue? We hit the streets of San Francisco to find out.
Today we're going to be interviewing you guys about the US ban on Huawei, the Chinese cell phone company. First off, have you guys heard about that ban before?
I have. I actually just heard about it a little while ago.
I have as well.
Since my phone is a Huawei phone, I was really worried about everything, so I was following up with news.
Upon hearing that, do you have a reaction to that?
Well, I feel so sad because I'm from Southeast Asia, so all Thailand and Laos, they use Huawei a lot, so I heard about that and it's quite sad.
It's a business tragedy if you ask me. There are so many deals nowadays between both the Huawei and the other various networks. This is not going to end well for anyone.
I just don't believe that there's really a necessity for the entire trade war that's going on. The way it was explained to me is that it's a suspicion that they could be using the technology to spy on Americans. And I think that that's just being overly paranoid. We have plenty of spying going on here, and we're selling our own data to every other country, so I don't really see what the problem is with this one specific company.
One of the prominent arguments that's going on right now is that China is using their phones to spy on US citizens. How much do you actually buy into that argument?
I actually buy into it a lot because China supposedly has that, I don't know, their apps literally do everything for you, and they probably have a lot of information, and I don't think they have free speech there, so the government probably has everyone's info.
I don't buy it at all. I think they'd probably use other ways to spy on people than phones. But I mean, yeah, since it's really accessible, I guess that's why. But I don't know. I don't think enough people use Huawei to it affect us so much.
Is that something new? I mean, what makes it different from a GPS program that can just track you where you're at right now on your cell phone because you're using it? I mean, it knows you want to go to this, it knows you're hitting the cannabis clubs, so it knows where you're at.
Do you think China actually has the ability to spy on US citizens with their hardware?
The ability, I'm sure they do. It's not something that I would be surprised by. I think that we're spying on everyone else, everyone's spying on us. It's a fair game at this point. Everyone's putting their information online. It's kind of expected that we're being spied on.
Yes, I think especially if you own Chinese hardware, they do have the technical capabilities to do it. Technology is kind of a weapon in itself. The US intelligence knows a lot about these things that we don't. And if they are saying, hold up, we don't want 5G technology from Huawei in our country, maybe that is happening for a reason. We don't know their motivations, and the thing is that, they have completely different motivation from what you as a consumer want.
To me, what a surprise is that, they've suddenly found this out, and Huawei has been in the US for such a long time. So to me, what is more shocking than the issue about spying is how come they've suddenly realized this?
I don't know if they're capable or not, but it's just what the media wants us to believe. So, well, I don't say I believe the media, but at the same time, you have to be careful of we don't know all the facts.
How much do you think of all of this is actually political?
I think it is. I think it's very political, to be honest.
Things of politics.
I think it's definitely more political since even the president's getting into it. I don't know why.
I think it's ridiculous. I feel like he has to focus on what's the major problem is like, and deal with the government about the major problem rather than like use it as a national security thing to immediately ban everything for like a company which doesn't even represent anything for the country.
If any, do you think there's a benefit that the U.S. can have because of this ban?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Apple is the best winner. It's like now, and another Android phone was banned, and I don't know if like a Galaxy would be the next, but if the government continue to think that there is a threat on this company, that company, eventually they will try to ban all the overseas companies and try to protect like Google, Apple, which I don't think they really need that protect. And I feel like creating a more like a fair, competition environment, it's more beneficial.
I'm sure we do. I'm sure that if we're at the point of a trade war, it might not be the U.S. as a whole, but there's definitely some very wealthy people who are going to benefit from this. I'm sure that those wealthy people have connections to the current administration, and I'm sure that we're not just targeting random companies. As far as like adding the whole, maybe they're spying on us, that's similar to like weapons of mass destruction. I feel like that's just a way to get the public behind it, to explain it to the public. But I'm sure that's not the true reason that we're going ahead and banning Huawei from doing business with us.
Do you think this ban will affect Huawei in the long run?
I think Huawei's probably losing some sort of like economic profit, but I think they're probably better off just like marketing in Asia anyways. So I think they'll be fine.
Oh, that is a big problem because it's how many million people that use Asian people. They want to try new products like Huawei. They made like very well and cheaper than Apple and Samsung. So that's why it's can affect to the many users.
Can they actually build an operating system which is on par with Android and iOS, which came out of this part of the world? So I think that's where they will really struggle, because I think those operating systems came out of some very good values. We know about like how the Silicon Valley is where you have some of the most liberal values and ideologies over here. Why is it that we haven't seen something and a proper Android alternative or an iOS alternative from the rest of the world? And could China ever be able to do that? That's a big question. You can't just say that the US is bullying China, because another article it expressed the whole idea that maybe China doesn't have or hasn't understood the concept of reciprocity. So a good way to explain that is, why is it that no US companies are allowed to set up shop? So why is it that they have their own internet? So they don't play fair either. China is not entirely blameless in this.
How do you think this will affect the relationship between the US and China in the long run? And if it does go south, if it gets worse, who in the relationship of the two countries has more to lose?
I think, I don't think this will affect the relationship to a very large extent, because the thing is, the two countries are very dependent on each other. So, I mean, the amount of trade they do, it's impossible for either US or China to take this any further, or to reach a place where they will have sour relationships.
I feel like the more benefit would be towards China, because they would be having to make their own Google, their own, all that, and that's only going to grow their own brand inside their own situation. And that's why I feel like, if in the long run, if the regime changes and then we have better relations, I think that that benefit that'll be something that they can look back on, and then it'll benefit both countries.
I feel like both countries are losing things, and I feel very sad about it. So I stopped thinking about like who's gonna lose more. I was just hoping one day there is a turnover, that like people started to collaborate again. And I mean, for me, the most important thing is not who is the strongest country in the world, is what are the things they can do for the whole world. It's like there are a lot of other countries, they are still in the war, they still can't have people like have enough food. Like those are more important than you guys trying to figure out who's the first.
I mean, I don't think it's really like a win or lose situation. I think it's a matter of what is going on behind closed doors to where we have to publicly have a trade war. Why has this not just been a closed door conversation, figure out a new trade deal, and go about it like, like countries are supposed to do? I think that we're running our country a bit too much like a cutthroat business right now. And anytime you're talking about a company that is huge, not only do they provide cell phones, they also work with our government, provide cell phones to our government. So you're talking about just affecting lower income people over nothing, really. Over nothing besides, hey, we want to posture for this election. We want to make it seem like we're tough on China. And it's going to do nothing positive for us. All it's going to do, China has other options. They're not only going to mess with the U.S. They can go talk to Russia. They can go, they're going to sell their cell phones regardless of what we do. So I think it's just an unfortunate casualty of this unnecessary trade war. That's pretty much how I see it.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Do you have any final thoughts you would like to share with us about this whole ban?
Can't we just all get along, man? Can't we just all get along? You know what I mean? We're talking about China. China has a better economy than us, most likely just as good armed forces. So at what point something's got to give? Somebody just needs to sit down, come to a common solution, and keep it positive with China, man.
What's your take on the Huawei ban? Would you ever use a Huawei phone? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe to Asian Boss channel and follow us on our social media. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious.